stop, breathe deep, and now forget everything you thought you knew about ninjas. Forget the movie tales and comic books, because what you are about to hear will shock you to your core. They weren't just warriors. They were ghosts, shadows that chilled the blood of even the bravest samurai. For centuries their name was whispered in fear, synonymous with elusiveness, invisibility, death. They said they could vanish into thin air, walk through walls, read minds. Were they even human? Or something more? Something terrifyingly supernatural? We're used to thinking of them as the past, as legend. But what if their most terrifying, most incredible abilities are real? What if these ancient secrets still work today in a world ruled by technology and surveillance cameras? How did they do it? What is the truth behind the veil of myths? Were they sorcerers or simply the deadliest masters of deception and combat in human history? In this video, we will challenge the legends. We will journey into the very heart of the mystery. We will test what the real ninjas were capable of, and what their successors are capable of today. Get ready. This will be a journey that will forever change your perception of the warriors of the shadow. Are you ready to learn the shocking truth? Then watch. Japan, autumn 1594. Night wrapped the bamboo grove in a thick black cloak, with only rare moonlight piercing the leaves, painting bizarre shadows. Two samurai, clad in heavy armor, grip their katanas, their breath tearing the silence. They are trained, they know their duty, and they feel that they are about to die. Somewhere in this pitch-black darkness lurks a ghost, a man in black robes whose name is already whispered with fear across the land. A man impossible to see until it's too late. A man capable of the impossible. A ninja. Forget everything you thought you knew. Forget the vivid images from movies and comics. The true ninjas who appeared 5 centuries ago were far from romantic heroes. They were the most brutal, the most ruthless warriors of feudal Japan. Their legendary abilities, their skill at vanishing, appearing from nowhere, their mastery of lethal techniques, all of it seemed superhuman. But is that the truth? How could a handful of people inspire such primal fear, making even the bravest samurai pale at the mere mention of their name? Their motto was, "Kill or be killed." This wasn't just a slogan. It was a philosophy of survival in a world where they were unwanted, where they were despised and feared. They operated in the shadows, were inconspicuous, like the night itself. They didn't seek glory, only effectiveness, and it was this shadowy nature that made them so disliked and so dangerous. Getting to the origins of the ninja, understanding their true essence, this is a monumental task. Like any secret society, they left behind only fragments of information, myths shrouded in centuries of secrecy. We will attempt to break through this veil. We will test how truly elite their combat skills were. We'll try to unravel the secrets of their mystical power, or perhaps find the rational explanations for what seemed like magic. We are merely trying to comprehend what ninjas did hundreds of years ago, using the knowledge and technology of the 21st century. To strip away the layers of myth, to expose the terrifying truth. Right now, at the Grand Villa in the heart of Los Angeles, 2 police officers are on high alert. They are guarding a high-value client. This isn't a drill. It's part of a real-world experiment designed to show what exactly. They were hired to protect against a potential attack, and their every step, every movement, is being captured by hidden cameras. They are expecting the worst. They are ready for an armed breach, a siege, any threat outlined in police manuals. An attack could happen at any minute, but they are not expecting an enemy impossible to see, an enemy impossible to hear, an enemy who can appear right behind them without making a sound. They are not expecting an adversary who, throughout history, was the most potent, an adversary who, for centuries, remained the most lethal in the history of martial arts, and who, to this day, is covered by an impenetrable veil of secrecy. They are not expecting a ninja. Imagine a shadow gliding across a rooftop under the cover of a moonless night. A man in black, silent, invisible, whose eyes see in the dark, and whose hands are lethal weapons. The image of the ninja has become so powerful, so captivating, that it is forever etched into our consciousness through countless novels, films, and legends. It's an image of beings almost supernatural, possessing secrets inaccessible to ordinary mortals. In these myths, they are not just warriors, but phantoms, capable of taking down a dozen enemies with sheer grace and speed, striking fear with their name alone. We are told stories of assassins in black robes whose composure in the face of danger, or even death itself, was unmatched. They appear before us as ruthless executors of another's will, whose mission always ended in success. But what if this image is merely a dazzling yet empty mirage? Historians, meticulously studying the scraps of preserved information, are finding a striking discrepancy between myth and reality. Where is the evidence of their superhuman combat skills? Era documents are not filled with accounts of legions of samurai falling at the hands of a lone shinobi master. Where are the records of the thousands of contract killings attributed to them by popular tradition? The archives are silent, the chronicles indifferent. Could this entire terrifying reputation be just a product of imagination? The most incredible legends attribute entirely fantastical abilities to them. They say they could fly, hover above the ground, vanish, and reappear in the blink of an eye in another place. That walls were no obstacle to them, and castles with the strongest gates opened for them on their own. That they read the minds of their enemies, anticipated their every move through some mystical power of clairvoyance. The ability to shapeshift, to become invisible at will, to teleport. These stories sound like chapters from a fantasy novel, but they are firmly lodged in the collective consciousness about the ninja. And here we come to the most interesting part. How did it happen that real people, engaged in quite mundane tasks, reconnaissance, sabotage, espionage, were transformed into figures of epic tales, worthy of the most fantastical worlds? The answer likely lies in the very nature of their activities. Ninjas lived in the shadows. Their work demanded anonymity, stealth, the ability to remain unnoticed. They avoided frontal confrontations, preferring to act quietly and inconspicuously. Any appearance, any success, even the most modest, was instantly embellished with rumors and speculation. And human imagination, fueled by fear and the unknown, is prone to exaggeration. An elusive spy transformed into a master of teleportation, a skilled infiltrator who climbed a high wall, into one who could fly. And so, from whisper to whisper, real, albeit impressive, skills in camouflage, covert infiltration, the use of unusual tools and explosives were layered with such mystique that the truth was buried under a mountain of fiction. This is the great irony of history. A group that masterfully concealed their tracks succeeded in making their real history virtually indistinguishable. How do you separate fact from fiction when dealing with those who deliberately erased their presence? How do you study people whose very existence was shrouded in secrecy and who consciously left behind minimal information, especially when it comes to a group that lived apart, away from the main currents of samurai Japan with its strict codes and chronicles? Secret societies always present an immense challenge to researchers, but the ninja took this art of secrecy to the absolute extreme, and perhaps their greatest achievement wasn't killing an enemy or stealing plans, but creating a myth about themselves, a myth so powerful that it lives on to this day, eclipsing a much more complex and no less fascinating truth. In the shadows of history, wrapped in the cloaks of night, they left behind only whispers and legends. Who were they? Elusive warriors, spies, or something more almost mythical? Ninjas. Their name still stirs the imagination, promising mysteries beyond ordinary comprehension. But what lies beneath the shroud of myths? Our program embarks on a perilous journey to peel back that veil. We will begin where, according to tradition, their invisible power was born. In the silent, mist-shrouded mountains of Japan, we will traverse the same paths where the shinobi once trod, feeling the chill of the wind that remembers their secret signs and whispers. We seek the key to their origins, to what made ordinary people masters of survival and invisibility in one of the most unforgiving landscapes. This is not just a search for historical sites, it's an attempt to understand the psychology of people forced to become shadows to survive. But ninjas are not just the past. Legends attribute almost superhuman abilities to them. Vanishing into thin air, walking on water, controlling the elements. Could these myths have a real basis? We won't take them at face value. We will put these super abilities to the ultimate test, using modern knowledge and technology. Is it possible to mimic magic through science and incredible skill? What are the true limits of the human body and spirit, pushed to absolute perfection? And perhaps the most intriguing and even unsettling part, We will attempt to find those who call themselves the heirs to this ancient tradition today. Do modern ninjas exist? What are their goals? Meeting them could be the key to understanding how the shinobi legacy has adapted to the 21st century world, where the battlefields have changed. But the need for stealth and information remains the same. This is a step into the unknown, a meeting with those who perhaps still live by the laws of the shadow. To guide us through this labyrinth of history, myth, and reality, to separate fantasy from fact, we need guides with unique knowledge. Our team of experts is a blend of academic rigor, practical experience in the harshest conditions, and a profound understanding of human potential. With us is Dr. Stephen Turnbull, a globally recognized historian whose books reveal the details of the samurai era and the world of the shinobi. He will help us comb through ancient scrolls and chronicles, seeking scraps of truth among centuries of distortion and propaganda. Joining us is Master Stephen Hayes, one of the few in the West to hold a black belt in traditional ninja arts. He didn't just study the techniques, he lived a part of this philosophy. He will show us what real combat skills might have been like, how ingenious weapons were used, and what the training of body and spirit meant for the shinobi. From the world of modern warfare comes Michael Andrews, an instructor for the legendary U.S. Navy SEALs. Who better than him to know about covert infiltration, sabotage, and survival behind enemy lines in the modern age? He will compare ancient ninja methods with modern special forces tactics, uncovering surprising parallels and fundamental differences. Our perspective on security and surveillance is represented by Bruce Cardenas, a 13-year veteran police officer and security expert. His experience working the streets where shadows can hide danger will help us understand how effective ninja camouflage and infiltration techniques could be in real-world conditions. And finally, to understand the true nature of espionage, disinformation, and psychological warfare, which was as much a ninja weapon as the shuriken, we have Dr. David Marhouse, a scholar and espionage expert. He will help us decipher how the shinobi used information as their primary weapon, ahead of their time in methods of covert data gathering and manipulation. This team, combining history and modernity, theory and practice, will delve into the very heart of the enigma. Their task is to investigate the true capabilities of the ninja, to test historical facts through the lens of modern knowledge about martial arts, survival, espionage, and psychology. We are ready to challenge the myths. Are you ready to learn the truth, which turned out to be far more complex, dramatic, and captivating than the boldest legends? This will be a journey that will forever change your perception of the warriors of the shadow. To unlock the secrets of the most elusive warriors in history, we traveled to their very roots. Deep in the mountainous heartland of central Japan, where mists cling to the peaks and valleys are hidden from prying eyes, lies Iga Ueno Province. It is said that this is the very center of the ninja world, the cradle of their mysterious art. Today, it is home to the world's only museum entirely dedicated to the study of ninjutsu, the art of cunning, the very path to invisibility. It is from here, from this land steeped in legends and secrets, that we began our search for scraps of truth about the ninja. But how do you search for those who, by definition, are meant to be invisible? The ninja virtually vanished from Japanese culture over 140 years ago. Their era ended, leaving behind only rumors and distorted images. How do you penetrate such an ancient and deliberate veil of secrecy? We turned for help to a man who has dedicated his life to unraveling this puzzle. Historian Stephen Turnbull. For centuries, Japan was one of the most literate nations in the world. Almost everything was documented. A wealth of records, chronicles, and letters are still held by ancient families. It's logical to assume that traces of the ninja must have remained. But where, and why are they so carefully concealed? Dr. Turnbull believes that the answers may lie not in official archives, but in personal family chests. It was in search of such hidden evidence that Turnbull found himself visiting Mr. Toshinobu Watanabe, a direct descendant of those who once lived in Iga. And there, in Mr. Watanabe's house, something incredible happened. Mr. Watanabe made an astonishing discovery while sorting through an old family box, hidden so securely, as if its contents were meant to remain secret forever. Among yellowed papers he found letters and documents that changed his understanding of his own ancestry. According to these astonishing findings, his great-grandfather was a ninja. Imagine the shock, the realization that your own family had kept such an incredible secret, but the great-grandfather likely never told his son, Mr. Watanabe's grandfather, about it. Why? Because he thought that in the new, changing world, the art of the ninja would no longer be needed. He saw the era of the samurai fading, as Japan opened up to the world, and decided that the skills of stealth, espionage, and sabotage had become relics. It is a tragedy. An entire art form, a whole life, all that knowledge, consciously buried in silence, to protect descendants from a dangerous past. Mr. Watanabe showed Dr. Turnbull one of the most astonishing documents found in that box. It was a genuine contract, according to which his great-grandfather made an unbreakable commitment never to reveal what he did for his lord. This wasn't just a verbal promise, it was a written agreement. Dr. Turnbull, who had seen thousands of historical documents, was stunned. He confessed he had never seen anything like it before, never supposed such things existed. The mere fact that this man signed a formal written document, essentially entering into a business relationship with his employer, speaks volumes. It shows that the actions of the ninja weren't just the work of a scattered group of mercenaries, but a whole organization with its own rules, agreements, and most importantly, an incredibly high level of secrecy. The contract, which doesn't mention a single detail of the clandestine operation, only obliging silence. That is the most striking example of this secrecy. What was this operation? What secrets are still buried in these ancient papers found in a forgotten drawer in the very heart of Ninja Land? This single document opens a window into a world we are only just beginning to understand. Imagine lands shrouded in mist, where mountains rise to the sky like the spine of an ancient serpent. The impregnable wild lands of Iga province. Why here, among these rocks and forests, did an art that became legend originate? Historians whisper of a connection stretching across the seas, of wisdom that came from the East. For centuries, Japan looked to China as a source of knowledge, philosophy, arts, Taoism, which saw unity in all things. And so, along the winding paths of Iga, perhaps walked not only pilgrims but also bearers of other more earthly, or rather natural knowledge. Buddhist monks, fleeing turmoil or simply seeking solitude, brought with them not just sutras. They brought an understanding of the world different from rigid codes of honor. Now imagine a young man, a samurai. Perhaps he suffered defeat, lost his lord, or simply became disillusioned with the bloody games of his time. With honor that breaks as easily as a samurai sword, he sought answers or perhaps simply oblivion in these remote mountains. And then, according to legend, in the 11th century he met him among ancient cedars and the whisper of the wind that seemed like the voices of ancient spirits. A monk, not one who sits in a temple, but one who lives in harmony with nature, reading its signs. The monk saw the turmoil in the warrior's eyes. He didn't offer him solace. He offered him a path that required no loud oaths and no shining armor. "Are you ready?" the monk asked, his words dissolving into the mountain air. "To study a form of combat unlike your art, one that unites not just the body but the spirit, that will allow you to move unseen, merging with the night, with the shadow, with nature itself." This wasn't an offer of strength for strength's sake, but about survival, about the path of least resistance, about wisdom hidden in the rustling leaves and the habits of animals. He called it nenjutsu. The young warrior, perhaps, initially doubted. After all, he had been taught to go head-on, to die with honor, but the monk showed him another strength, the strength of adaptation, the strength of patience, a strength that came from understanding the world. He began to learn not just strikes and grabs, but how to walk silently, how to use the environment, how to read another person's intentions based on their nature, their weaknesses and strengths. This was training for life, not just battle. Iga, with its hard-to-reach valleys, became an ideal refuge, far from roads, from the eyes of feudal lords, from endless wars. Here one could live their own life, secretly. But this secrecy had its price. They lived by themselves in small communities and had to rely only on themselves. No one would come to help if trouble struck. This forced them to be always on guard, always ready to defend their home, their family, their way of life. Mountain life was a harsh school. It demanded endurance, inventiveness, the ability to use everything nature provided, from plants for medicine and poisons, to stones and sticks as weapons or tools. They trained their bodies not for formal duels, but for survival. climbing rocks, swimming, running long distances, enduring hardships. Thus, in this isolation, in harsh conditions, under the cover of mountains and mists, the great art of the ninja was born and blossomed. An art born from a mix of ancient wisdom, the bitter experience of the samurai, the harsh reality of survival, and the unique spirit of people who chose a life in the shadows to find true freedom. They became masters of stealth and survival because the world left them no other choice. The century of civil wars, a time when Japan was torn into pieces by warring principalities. Each daimyo sought to grab his piece of power, and in this bloody meat grinder, the usual rules of combat often gave way to the necessity of survival. Samurai fought with honor on the field of battle, but war required not just the strength of the blade, but cunning, inconspicuousness, the ability to act where others didn't see, and this is where they entered the scene. Those whose methods were as effective as they were far from the code of Bushido. Warlords, besieged by paranoia and a thirst for information, hired these shadow agents for spying on the enemy, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, and it's important to understand their techniques were truly unusual for that time. They were not part of traditional Japanese military or social culture. While the samurai was proud of his openness and mastery of the sword in full view of everyone, these people preferred to act in the shadows, using deception, disguise, and psychological impact. It was in the chaos of the 15th century, when the whole country was burning in the fire of civil strife, that their reputation soared to the heavens. In the conditions of complete collapse of authority and order, their outstanding abilities, which seemed almost supernatural amidst the general confusion, became shrouded in legends. And the most enduring, the most mysterious of these legends is the myth of invisibility. They were dubbed the Invisible Warriors. Why? Because no one saw them. You knew they were somewhere nearby, that they were acting against you, but you couldn't find them. Where are these ninja? Enemy soldiers whispered in fear. Are they here, in this camp, in this castle? You couldn't catch them. You couldn't predict their strike. This complete elusiveness gave rise to one single explanation in the minds of enemies. They were simply invisible. But was there a real, earthly explanation for this mythical ability? Imagine the scene. An enraged warlord, whom a ninja had caused a lot of trouble, refused to pay him, and decided to put an end to the problem once and for all by arranging a sudden attack on his home. He gathered a detachment confident of an easy victory. But ninja built their homes differently from ordinary people. They built them in such a way that enemies would believe in their invisibility. Attackers burst inside expecting to see an opponent ready for battle or trying to flee. Instead, they faced a labyrinth of deception, doors that led nowhere, walls that were actually turning panels, floors that concealed trapdoors leading into the darkness of underground passages. These defensive measures weren't just tricks. They were designed for total disorientation of the opponent. The enemy didn't expect this. Their familiar world crumbled before their eyes. And so the pursuer sees the man he was just chasing down the corridor suddenly vanish, as if dissolving into thin air. He doesn't escape through a door. The door turns out to be false. He doesn't hide behind a wall. The wall is just part of a mechanism. These guys literally dissolved before the eyes of the astonished enemy, retreating into their secret hideouts under the house or through hidden exits. It was these moments when a living person vanished, seemingly without a trace, that gave rise to frightening mystical legends about the supernatural invisibility of the ninja. Not magic, but merely ingenious engineering and a deep knowledge of human psychology, turning fear and ignorance against the attackers themselves. In the shadow of night, when every rustle could be a death sentence and every creak discovery, there existed an art bordering on magic. This was the art of movement, the ability to merge with the surroundings, to pass through enemy territories without leaving a trace, without making a sound. This wasn't just walking. It was a dance with death on the tips of one's toes. The legendary skill of the ninja, their silent movement, was much more than just a step. It was a philosophy woven into every movement. But how is it possible to step silently on a surface that is itself a trap? How, for example, on an old creaky wooden floor that seems to come alive under weight? This is a trial not everyone can handle. Stephen, our expert, is ready to lift the veil on this mystery. He stands before us on old boards, in ordinary shoes, conditions as far as possible from ideal for silent movement. and he talks about things that, at first glance, seem too simple. The first most important step, according to him, is breathing. And relaxation. Sounds paradoxical, doesn't it? How can you be relaxed when danger lurks all around, when every muscle is tense with anticipation? But tension is our enemy. Tense muscles transmit vibrations to the body, amplifying contact with the surface. Imagine, you are taut as a string, and every step sounds like a drumbeat in the night silence. Relaxation allows the body to become yielding, to absorb the energy of movement instead of transmitting it to the floor. This isn't just physical relaxation, it's a state of mind. Meditation in motion, concentration on inner calm while the outer world freezes. Then the knees. Stephen says, relax your knees like a golfer before a swing. Why knees? Because they are our shock absorbers, our balance sensors. Tense knees make the gait stiff, jarring. Relaxed ones allow the body to flow smoothly, to feel the slightest change in the surface underfoot, to distribute weight as evenly as possible. This creates a low center of gravity, provides stability, and allows control over every movement. It's as if you are not walking but gliding, but not on ice, but on the very fabric of space. And here begins the real art, the real test of will and body. This floor creaks even if you just stand still, and we are in shoes, which themselves add noise and reduce foot sensitivity. But the ninja doesn't retreat before difficulties, he overcomes them. The main secret is not speed, but control. First, Stephen says, transfer the body's weight to one foot, completely. For example, the left one. Your entire mass is now there on that support point. And only after that, slowly, agonizingly slowly, begin to move the second foot. The right one, you don't put weight on it, you just move it forward, inch by inch, feeling the air under the sole, sensing the slightest resistance, as if you were probing a minefield where every step could cost you your life. And so the foot is placed. But the weight is not transferred to it yet. It's just standing, barely touching the floor, ready to retreat at any moment. And here comes the culmination of this slow, agonizing dance, weight transfer. This is done very, very slowly, combining the movement with exhalation. Inhale, preparation, exhale, action. The slow, controlled exhalation helps to synchronize movement, stabilize the body, suppress the slightest tremor. Weight flows, it doesn't fall. It's not a step, it's a stream. Stephen does it. And silence, no creak. He holds the position for a second, letting the floor get used to the new load, allowing vibrations to die down, and then repeats the same for the other foot, transferring weight to the right. Slow, careful movement of the left, placement, and slow, controlled weight transfer with exhalation. Each step is a separate operation, requiring absolute concentration, full control over body and mind. This is not just a technique of movement, it is a state of being. The ability to become invisible, to dissolve into the shadow, to pass where another would inevitably give themselves away. It is an art that saved lives in the past and amazes the imagination today. And it begins with a simple yet fundamental understanding. To move silently, you must first become silent within. In the land of the rising sun, where honor was measured by the gleam of a blade, the samurai ruled for centuries. Warriors of the noble class, clad in heavy armor with a katana at their side. They were the pillars of society, the embodiment of strength, discipline, and the code of honor, bushido. Their lives were dedicated to serving their lord, their emperor, and the art of war, which they understood as a clash of equals, a duel between worthy opponents. Death on the battlefield was considered the highest valor, especially if it came after an honest and open fight. For a samurai, battle was almost a ritual, where every sword stroke, every movement reflected years of training and an unshakable spirit. But in the shadows, hidden from the eyes of the noble warriors, others existed, those who obeyed no codes except one: to survive and complete the task. These were the ninja, masters of invisibility, spies, saboteurs, and sometimes assassins. Their methods were the direct opposite of everything the samurai cherished. Instead of an open challenge, a sudden attack; instead of an honest fight, deception and traps; instead of the katana's gleam, the quiet whisper of a dagger in the dark. Their ideal of victory: to disappear without a trace, to leave the enemy utterly bewildered, to sow doubt as to whether it was even a man, not a ghost. And so these two worlds inevitably collided. What happened when a samurai, a master swordsman, faced a ninja face to face? The samurai was trained to fight against his equals, other samurai, foot soldiers, horsemen. He expected a direct confrontation. The ninja, however, didn't play by the rules. For him there were no unfair tricks. Any means were justified if they led to victory or survival. Kill by any means or be killed. That was their true code. Imagine the scene. An experienced samurai patrols his lord's territory at night. He feels confident, his katana an extension of his arm. But the darkness around him seems too thick, the shadows too restless. Suddenly, not from around a corner but from nowhere, a rustle is heard. Not a sword stroke, but something entirely different. Perhaps it was a shuriken, thrown from the darkness, not meant to kill but to distract. Or, far more terrifying, that legendary iron dust, sometimes mixed with poison, thrown directly in his face. Feel this horror. The samurai's world, accustomed to relying on sight, on the clarity of lines and movements of the opponent, suddenly plunges into burning blindness. He hears only his own scream, and perhaps the quiet sound of footsteps, too fast, too close. At this moment, his honed sword mastery becomes almost useless against an invisible opponent who most likely will not try to fight him chivalrously, but will simply finish what he started, quickly and without sentiment. The myth that a ninja could easily defeat a samurai even when outnumbered was not entirely true. A samurai was deadly in open combat. But the problem for the samurai was that a ninja never sought open combat if he could avoid it. He used the environment. Psychological terror, tools that the samurai couldn't even imagine, strange movements, unexpected stances for attack or evasion, a whole arsenal of devices created for deception and suddenness. In addition, the samurai constantly remembered those very fearsome tales that circulated about the ninja, stories of elusive demons, capable of vanishing before one's eyes, passing through walls, and poisoning with a single touch. This aura of fear, this element of unpredictability, was the ninja's most potent weapon. The samurai didn't know what to expect, and what he couldn't understand terrified him. He was a master on the battlefield, but the ninja turned any skirmish into a dark labyrinth where the rules shifted every second. So when a samurai and a ninja clashed, it wasn't just a confrontation of two different fighting styles. It was the collision of two utterly different philosophies of life and death. And in this shadowy war, where honor meant less than survival, the ninja's seemingly supernatural abilities, their art of disguise, speed, knowledge of poisons and traps, gave them a terrifying, almost unfair advantage over the valiant but predictable warrior of light. They lived in the shadows. Legends and fear shrouded them. It was said they could disappear, become invisible, walk on water, and defy gravity itself. But what lay behind the myths? What real, lethal skills and tools allowed them to survive in a world where the slightest mistake cost them their life? For answers to these questions, we turn to a man who has dedicated over 30 years to studying the art of the ninja, Stephen K. Hayes. Holder of a black belt in ninjutsu, he was the first to lift the veil of mystery surrounding these masters of stealth and combat for the Western world. Stephen Hayes explains, "The ninja were not sorcerers. Their seemingly supernatural abilities were the result of trickery honed to perfection and the use of specialized tools. Take, for example, the legendary scaling of sheer walls. Ninja couldn't just levitate upwards. They had a tool. It was called the shuko, the claw, a simple steel band secured to the hands, but with powerful steel claws. Imagine the cold metal biting into the stone or wood of a fortress wall. Every climb, every movement, it was calculation and tenacity. But the shuko wasn't just a means of traversal. Once on the wall, face to face with an unsuspecting guard in the pitch blackness, the ninja used it as a weapon. These steel fangs were invisible at night. A blow with such a claw could shatter a bone, or, even more horrifying, grip an enemy's arm like death. It was devastatingly effective, and utterly unforeseen by the opponent. Picture the scene. A proud samurai, confident in his swordsmanship, confronts a ninja who appears unarmed. The samurai attacks, a first thrust with a razor-sharp blade. The ninja evades, but the situation is critical. The samurai's second strike is faster or more precise than anticipated. What does the ninja do? He uses his cunning and survival tools. In the very next attack, he doesn't block the sword, but tries to seize the samurai's hand, sinking the shuko claws into it. But the samurai wears heavy armor, he can break free and attack again. And then something unthinkable for honorable combat happens. The ninja grabs the blade itself. With bare hands, risking tearing his own flesh, he seizes the razor-sharp edge. and it's here, in the moment of the samurai's confusion, that the ninja exploits that split second. He raises his opponent's hands to disrupt his balance, delivers a quick, sharp strike below the belt, aiming for the hips or groin. Using the energy of this movement, he delivers a decisive kick, disarming the opponent or finishing him off in a vulnerable spot. In such a duel, the ninja survived not through honor or strength, but through skill, cunning, and a willingness to use any means necessary. He required unique weapons and unconventional tactics. Stephen Hayes is convinced. The ninja perfected the art of weapon design and application. They were unrivaled in this, the main requirement for their arsenal, compactness and lightness. Ninja carried all their gear with them. When you need to infiltrate a castle unseen, complete a mission, whether reconnaissance or eliminating a target, and disappear just as tracelessly, you couldn't be burdened by heavy armor or cumbersome weapons. Ninja transformed ordinary farm tools used on the plains of Iga province into perfect instruments of combat. A classic example is the sickle and chain, or kusarigama. The sickle was a simple peasant's tool, but with a sharp blade and a whole complex of combat techniques, it became a formidable opponent even for a samurai sword. Add a chain with a metal weight at the end, and the ninja could fight skilled warriors who had never seen anything like it. Imagine the samurai's bewilderment when, instead of an expected straightforward duel, he sees the ninja swinging a strange chain. What's happening to him now? How does he fight this? Ninja went further, creating more compact versions of chain weapons, like the fundo kusari, a short chain with a weight. In close combat, such a weapon could outmatch even a master swordsman. Imagine the effect when that metal ball whips out and slams into your eye with a sickening crunch. It's an instant knockout, utter helplessness. When a samurai lunged at a ninja with a long sword, a weapon designed for the open battlefield, the ninja often used a short sword, the ninjutsu. More practical in cramped castle corridors or in close combat, it gave the ninja an edge even against multiple opponents. In such a situation, a ninja might deliberately expose the blade forward and hold it flat, creating the illusion that his weapon was shorter, or he himself was clumsy, baiting an attack. The samurai lunges, attempting to cut him in half. But the ninja sharply shifts aside, dropping into an incredibly low stance. And from there, when the opponent is ready to deliver the next blow, he explodes upwards in motion, leaping and using his full body weight. With seeming awkwardness, he whips out his sword arm. Using his body as a lever, the samurai attacks where he thinks the ninja is vulnerable, but instead takes a blow to the wrists. A swift, disabling strike that deprives him of the ability to hold his sword. Then, in one fluid motion, the ninja pivots the blade and drives it. No need to aim precisely in an adrenaline-fueled fight. Simply driving down with full weight is enough to pierce defenses. This movement kills or incapacitates the opponent, allowing the ninja, whose goal is always to survive, to immediately leave the scene of combat, dissolving into the night as suddenly as he appeared. Their weapons and tactics were a reflection of their philosophy: survival at any cost. In the shadows of feudal Japan, while the samurai cultivated their code of honor, accessible only to men of noble birth, there existed a different force. A force born of necessity, operating outside of any rules. This was the world of the ninja, and in this world, where the line between life and death was thinner than paper, the masters of shadow saw potential where others saw only weakness. They trained not only men, they opened their secrets to women. Imagine, not fragile keepers of the home hearth, but trained warriors capable of merging with the night, wielding exotic weapons with frightening accuracy and sensing approaching danger even before it manifested. These weren't just warriors. They became masters of the unseen, whose main weapon wasn't a blade or shuriken, but a sharp, unseen mind. For over 20 years, Rumiko Hayes delved into this ancient art, ninjutsu. 2 decades spent not in mountain meditations, but in the dust of the dojo, in thousands of repetitions of movements, in sparring with all sorts of people. She didn't just master combat techniques. She learned to see the unseen. Under the guidance of her husband, Stephen K. Hayes, one of the few Western masters to reach the depths of this art, Rumiko absorbed knowledge that lies beyond the physical. Knowledge about people. Years of training with hundreds of different partners, large and small, fast and slow, aggressive and cautious, taught her the language of the body, but not the one we read in psychology books. This is the language of instincts, the language of intent not yet translated into action. I learned to understand how they would attack, simply by the position of their body, she says. Simply by the position of the body. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's not simple observation. It's emerging. I just enter that tonality with their movements, with their stances. Imagine that feeling, not just looking at a person, but feeling their muscles, their weight, their breathing, becoming an echo of their body. And in this merging, a foreknowledge unfolds. The slightest shifts in their posture tell me what they are about to do. It could be a barely perceptible tension in the shoulder, the tiniest shift of weight onto the front foot, a quick, almost invisible glance assessing the distance. To an ordinary person this means nothing. To Rumiko, it's an alarm signal. It's the beginning of a story whose ending she already sees. She anticipates their every move, not because she sees the future, but because she reads the present with incredible depth. Ancient myths often described ninja as mystical beings, capable not only of wielding exotic weapons, claws, chains, blowguns, but also of reading the opponent's thoughts. Of course, these were exaggerations. But perhaps this very skill lies at the heart of these myths. Not telepathy, but hypersensitivity to nonverbal cues. The ability to sense fear, aggression, hesitation, or firm intent in the very air around a person, in their aura, created by the slightest physical manifestations of their inner state. And this skill, this insight, it turns out, is useful not only for shadow warfare or deadly duels. In fact, it's invaluable in our daily lives. We constantly interact with people whose true intentions are hidden behind smiles and polite words. How do we distinguish sincerity from deception, friendliness from a hidden threat? You need to pay close attention to feelings, Rumiko insists. Not just your own, but those manifested by others. If you see someone's shoulders are tense, if their gaze is too intense, or conversely they sharply avert their eyes after you've caught their gaze, what does that tell you? Rumiko demonstrates this with simple examples. Walking down the street, she senses where potential danger threatens her, or just a discomfort that makes her alert. What is that feeling? It's not pure fear. It's an awareness. What am I feeling? That is the question the ninja constantly asks themselves. Not what am I afraid of, but what are my instincts, my experience, my senses telling me about this situation, about this person? And then comes the decision. Walk on or avoid this person. It's a constant navigation in a world where danger can lurk around the corner or in the most ordinary encounter. To develop this ability, you need to be in constant contact with your feelings, with your sensations. Cast aside the noise of the external world and listen to the subtlest vibrations, your own and those emanating from others. This isn't an inherent gift of the chosen few. It's a skill that can be trained. It's the ancient art of the ninja, applied to the realities of the modern world. And perhaps it is one of the most potent weapons a person can acquire, the ability to see the truth hidden behind the facade, the ability to read the world and people around you with the same clarity with which an ancient ninja read his enemy's posture in a moonlit clearing. This ability is available to you too, if you are willing to learn to feel. Imagine for a moment you can never relax. Never. Every movement, every sound, even your own breathing, everything must be under total control. Because the slightest mistake, one wrong step in the shadows, could cost you everything. Not just your life, but the lives of your family, those who entrusted you with their most precious secrets. Such was the reality for those we know as ninja. Their mastery wasn't just a set of techniques. It was a honed-to-the-limit reaction to a world that sought to destroy them. They had to constantly, agonizingly refine their sophisticated warrior skills. And do you know why? Because they operated under circumstances that would be simply unthinkable for an ordinary person. Inside an enemy fortress, in the very heart of danger, where the air itself feels like a drawn bowstring. The price of failure, not a penalty, not shame, but agonizing death, which often began with torture. Can you imagine what a normal person would feel under such monstrous constant pressure, with that chilling knowledge that if you're caught, you won't just die, you will be forced to betray your family, your clan affiliation. You will fail a mission that perhaps would change the course of history, or save those dear to you. You will give yourself away, revealing secrets hidden for generations. This unbearable, gnawing stress distinguished them from the ordinary soldier of that era, going into attack shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of comrades. The ordinary warrior had formation, the banner, the fury of battle. The ninja had only the night, silence, and their own unending fear that had to be turned into absolute concentration. These people weren't just mercenaries. They were intensely, fanatically loyal to those who dared to call upon them. This loyalty was forged in the fire of constant danger and absolute trust within the clan. They were not soldiers. They were experts. The elite of their time, masters of infiltration, sabotage, and hidden combat, about whom legends were told, often exaggerated, but always based on a grain of terrible truth. And like modern special forces operators, they had no margin for error. A miscalculation didn't mean retreat or regrouping. A miscalculation meant the end. The end of everything. How good were the ninja truly as warriors? Could their methods, born in a completely different world, stand the test of time and adapt? Can modern people, living without the constant threat of immediate horrible death for a mistake, withstand the level of physical and psychological tension that was the norm for these shadows of ancient Japan? Be ready. Because now we are going to test the skills of modern ninja, those who decided to test their body, their spirit, and their nervous system, immersing themselves in a world where every breath could be their last. What became of the ninja? Hearing that name today, we think of legends, of shadows of the past, of figures that slipped from reality into the world of myths. But they were real. For over 4 centuries, ninja were an undeniable, anonymous force, weaving their webs at the very foundation of Japanese society. They didn't win battles with frontal assaults of thousands of soldiers, but they won wars. Their value wasn't in numbers but in unique, terrifying abilities. If you could infiltrate through the impenetrable walls of a castle, sow panic and confusion in the heart of the enemy camp, ferret out secrets that were guarded with their lives, or, most terrifying of all, eliminate an enemy general right in his supposedly safe chambers, you delivered a blow capable of deciding the outcome of any confrontation. One ninja could do what an entire army could not. Small wonder that the powerful shoguns controlling Japan simultaneously held these elusive operatives in awe and dreaded them down to their very core. This hidden threat to their authority drove many to seek the destruction of the ninja clans, to tear this thorn from the nation's flesh. But in 1603, Ieyasu Tokugawa rose to power on the political stage of Japan. A man of incredible insight and strategic genius, he saw that attempts to destroy the ninja were like swinging a sword through mist. They merely dispersed, never vanquished. Ieyasu chose a path no one before him had dared even conceive. Instead of a war of attrition, he extended his hand. Not a hand of friendship, mind you, but an offer they simply couldn't refuse. He offered them not death, but a place within his burgeoning new regime. He told them, "You are no longer mere shadows on the periphery of history. You can become part of the noble class, the Bushi, warriors. But there is a condition. Your allegiance, from this moment forward, belongs solely to me, to the Tokugawa clan alone. You will serve me and no other." It was a brilliant, truly devilish stroke. Ieyasu not only neutralized one of the gravest threats to his power, he transformed it into his most trusted shield. The ninja accepted his offer, their new role, the personal bodyguards of the Tokugawa shogun. But how to keep secret the fact that the country's most dangerous agents were now hidden within its most guarded residence? The answer was deceptively simple, yet startlingly effective. They assumed the guise of palace gardeners. Think about it. A gardener. Someone always present, tending the grounds, caring for plants, minor chores around the shogun's estate. These were their constant, unnoticed tasks. They swept, they pruned, they cultivated. Who would ever notice a humble laborer with a scythe or a shovel? No one, that's who. And in this very anonymity lay their strength. Beneath the humble gardener's garb lay hidden a steel resolve and lightning-fast reflexes. A shovel could instantly become a tool of self-defense, and a curved scythe, a lethal weapon capable of slitting an enemy's throat before they even sensed the threat. No attacker, no spy from a rival clan would ever suspect that these simple folk with tools in hand were elite warriors of the shadows, ready to lay down their lives at a moment's notice for their new lord. Leveraging the vast, centuries-honed ninja spy network, now operating solely at his command, the Tokugawa regime didn't just solidify its power, it ushered in an era of great peace for Japan. The ninja, once symbols of instability and clandestine warfare, became instruments of order and control. Ieyasu Tokugawa, rather than destroying them, effectively pacified the ninja, stripping them of the fearsome, independent role in the country's military and political history that they had held for centuries. Their sharp blade was blunted, its edge now turned towards protecting a single man and his lineage. But times change. In 1868, Japan confronted an unprecedented challenge, opening up to the Western world and the Meiji Restoration. This triggered a seismic upheaval across all facets of life. Social classes were abolished. The samurai, Japan's warrior elite, were transformed into a Western-style army. And even more critically, the peace within the empire established by the Tokugawa rendered traditional ninja skills, sabotage, espionage, covert assassination, simply obsolete in the new reality. There were no more feudal wars, no longer a need for agents capable of infiltrating a hostile daimyo's castle. The stage had changed, and for those who lived in the shadows, there was simply no role left. They vanished, faded from view, or did they? For centuries, they remained shrouded in darkness, giving rise to blood-chilling legends. Elusive warriors of the night, masters of espionage and sabotage. The ninja, their era, it seemed, passed into oblivion along with samurai Japan nearly a century and a half ago. But is that truly the end of the story, or have their ancient skills, honed over centuries, found chilling new relevance in our high-tech world? Forget the theatrical costumes and action movie acrobatics. True ninja were operatives, specialists in tasks demanding not brute force assaults, but subtle calculation, absolute stealth, and peerless adaptability. Drawing parallels to today, they were the elite, a kind of precursor to the very special forces whose names are now legendary. The British SAS, the American Navy SEALs, Russian Spetsnaz. The fundamental objectives remain the same: infiltrate undetected, gather intelligence, neutralize a key target, or eliminate an objective without leaving a trace. This demands not only peak physical conditioning, but also a unique mindset, the ability to read the environment, anticipate enemy actions, and leverage every detail of the surroundings to their advantage. But it's one thing to operate in a world of paper maps, guard dogs, and torchlight patrols. It's quite another to contend with the all-seeing eye of modern technology. Could a ninja slip past CCTV cameras, motion sensors, infrared detectors, sky patrolling drones, and digital communication systems logging every whisper? Can the ancient art of stealth survive the test of the 21st century? The question sounds almost fantastical, but the answer could fundamentally reshape our understanding of the limits of human potential and the relevance of forgotten skills. How applicable are ninja methods in today's world? Could they work against modern weaponry, against armored doors and digital locks, against security systems worth billions? This isn't merely academic curiosity. It's a question of whether the human body, honed by centuries of rigorous practice, is capable of outperforming the pinnacles of engineering achievement. Our program has taken an unprecedented step. We don't want to guess. We want to know for certain. We will conduct an experiment designed to test whether ninja skills, unearthed from the depths of centuries, can hold the key to tackling challenges in a modern world ruled by technology, where danger lurks at every turn. The risk is immense, as any failure would not only mean the experiment's collapse, but also prove that these legendary warriors are truly confined to history. But if even a fraction of their methods proves viable, it will be a sensation. Are we ready to witness the shadows of the past challenge the light of the future? Within the opulent confines of a villa designed to evoke an ancient shogun's castle, an extraordinary experiment is set to unfold. On the upper floor, nestled within the very heart of this stone behemoth, a secure apartment has been set up, a fortress within a fortress. The walls of this inner sanctum will soon become the arena for testing the very limits of human endurance and skill. Here, in this specially prepared space, elite will face off against elite in a contest not for life, but for knowledge. Standing guard over this temporary citadel are two men whose names have been forged in the crucible of real danger. Bruce Cardenas, an expert whose hands have shielded hundreds of the planet's most famous and influential figures, and his partner, Demetrios Connor, a police veteran with decades of experience. Their mission today, to prevent the unthinkable. They are the last line of defense between a vital person, hidden within these walls, and any external threat. This is no mere drill. This is a simulation of the highest stakes, survival itself. But who dares challenge these seasoned professionals? Who will attempt to breach their defenses and reach the objective? Taking on the role of intruders is a team whose very name inspires awe. The Navy SEALs. They are led by Mike Andrews, a veteran of Desert Storm, an instructor whose skills are honed to razor sharpness. This is a clash of two worlds. The world of personal security, founded on vigilance and positional defense, and the world of special operations, where speed, surprise, and adaptability reign supreme. Can the SEALs break through what seems like absolute impregnability? Their own assessment of their capabilities is high. After months of training, they are confident they can achieve the impossible. To push the simulation as close to reality as possible, every corner of the 5-room apartment is wired with hidden cameras. 10 pairs of electronic eyes monitoring every move, every breath. This is the hot zone. A sealed perimeter, no one but the participants will enter. Before they begin, Daniel delivers the final briefing. You are defending him from any threat. You are armed, his words are crisp and unambiguous. But the weapons here are non-lethal, fitted with lasers. A laser hit means a wound, taking you out of the game. And the crucial rule, the symbol of irreversible defeat, if they take your baseball cap off, you're dead. A simple yet shocking metaphor for decapitation, for instant termination. Got it, comes the response. Daniel escorts the guards into the zone. The only entrance leads into a narrow corridor, a deadly funnel for anyone attempting a frontal assault. Clear, anyone entering is an enemy. Can furniture be used for barricades? No barricades. Assess the space. Find advantages. That's all they have left. Bruce and Demetrios know. Ahead lie up to 10 hours of tension waiting for an attack that could come from anywhere, in any form. Gentlemen, occupy the premises. This is a hot zone, the defender's first decision. To hide the client in the bathroom in the deepest part of the apartment. Logical enough. The bathroom, a natural fortress with solid walls and minimal windows. A spot meant to offer cover and security. Put the lid down, commands Bruce, preparing for a potential breach. Meanwhile, downstairs, Technical Director Carlberry watches them through the cameras, posing seemingly absurd questions. Simple question, Demetrios. Who is Lucy in Luce's spy ring? A pop quiz? No, this is part of the experiment. The answer to the question is in a reference book somewhere inside the apartment. By forcing the defenders to move, to search, they prevent them from digging in, from relaxing. It's a simulation of the grueling bodyguard routine, where long months of quiet are suddenly shattered by a flash of danger. Cameras are fixed to their helmets. We see the world through their eyes, tracking every nervous movement, while the guards orient themselves within their strange labyrinth outside in the shadows of the shogun's castle. The Navy SEALs begin their movement, and their vanguard, a sniper employing a legendary ninja technique. This isn't mere camouflage, it's the art of visual deception, a jester's garb that alters the human silhouette. Anyone can spot a human silhouette, but in this, I'll look like anything but a body. To become a phantom, to dissolve into the surroundings. The rest of the team prepares for the assault. For missions like this, they don't wear dress uniform. Only dark green tactical gear, masks, everything designed to make them unnoticed, low-light targets merging with the shadows. While the guards carry out the tasks, searching for answers, maintaining their vigilance, expecting an attack at any moment, the sniper outside works his scope. Guy comes to the window every 10 minutes. He just moved. The information is priceless. Receiving target coordinates, the SEAL team takes up positions, leading the way. The scout. The others move not in a tight formation, but in free order, circling the room, preparing to spring an ambush. Suspicious persons, tension reaches its peak. Go, 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 the attack begins, lightning fast, fiercely. The entire sequence lasts no more than 20 seconds. First, 3 SEALs deliberately lured Bruce out. He barely had time to draw his pistol. We heard and saw each other simultaneously. In that moment, the firing started. The SEALs had to act instantly, because Demetrios, unlike Bruce, was already waiting. I knew they'd come down that corridor. When they appeared, I just started shooting. He had taken up a position, ready to meet them in the narrow passage. But Demetrios's pistol was no match for the automatic fire of the assault team. When I entered, I saw movement on the right. A weapon was sticking out from behind the doorway. I just stitched him right through. The Navy SEALs swiftly crushed the defenders' resistance. The element of surprise, overwhelming firepower, their trump cards. But this was only part of the team. What about the ninja? Did he manage to slip past the guards, unnoticed? Can he reach the objective where the assault team has already cleared the path? The Navy SEALs demonstrated brute force and speed. They burst in, shattering the defense with a hail of fire, leveraging shock and lightning speed. Mission accomplished. Target neutralized. But what if such tactics are impossible? What if you can't burst in, can't shoot, can't even carry a weapon? It is precisely under such constraints that a true ninja must operate. And now, entering the arena is Stephen Hayes, one of the rare individuals who has mastered the ancient art of ninjutsu in its authentic, multifaceted form. His task is the same: reach the target within this heavily fortified apartment. But after their defense was shattered by the Navy SEALs, the defenders, Bruce and Demetrios, have regrouped. Their client has been moved to another part of the apartment. They are confident. This time they are ready. They anticipate a new assault, perhaps more cunning, but still based on force. But Hayes isn't about to kick down the door. He won't arrive with a special forces team. He will come alone, without visible weapon, relying solely on the legacy of centuries, the art of deception and invisibility. Herein lies the core myth of the ninja. Not shadows in black, gliding across rooftops. That's only a fraction of the legend crafted for intimidation. The true art of the ninja is to become part of the landscape, to merge with the surroundings so completely that you simply aren't noticed. 500 years ago, this might have been a gardener's outfit, humbly toiling by the castle gates while his employer planned an infiltration. Today, Stephen Hayes wears a different mask. He is a TV production assistant. Who would pay attention to someone like that? We're used to seeing them at work, bustling around with equipment. They're expected and therefore invisible. I look like a guy who just came to clean the camera lenses, says Hayes. And that's the whole point. He begins his operation, calmly surveying the perimeter. His first appearance triggers an immediate reaction. "Partner, we've got someone," one of the guards says tensely. Demetrios is instantly on high alert. Weapon raised, he approaches the unexpected visitor. "Sir, how can I help you?" Hayes is calm. "We're just setting up the cameras." Bruce doesn't buy it. He doesn't let him pass. "I see, please leave. You weren't cleared to be here." Hayes understands. The first round is lost. "He came out with a raised weapon, kicked me out," recalls Stephen. The guard was nervous, and that's good. It shows they're vigilant. But Stephen doesn't give up. He changes tactics, adding another layer of camouflage. He brings in a female assistant, smiling, wearing a tool belt, offering drinks or donuts. She's the embodiment of innocence, completely unassociated with any threat. "Hi, can I help, guys? I brought you donuts." And again the reaction. Surprise, confusion. "I thought they'd inform us about you." The guard's bewilderment. "Didn't understand. I'm sorry, please leave. I wasn't informed about you." "Okay, can I just leave them here?" "No, take them with you. They're seeing something that doesn't fit their picture of the world, people who shouldn't be here but who don't look dangerous. It throws them into confusion. What the hell is going on? It's a trap, buddy, get it out of here." Hayes used their own expectations against them. The lack of a threat became the distraction. Time ticks on. It's 3:20. The guards have been on duty for over 3 hours. Repeated, non-threatening requests and appearances are starting to fray nerves, but also dull vigilance. Stephen Hayes decides to test them again. He approaches the perimeter once more. "Demetrius, what is it now?" Weariness is beginning to creep into their voices. "These police tactical guys are sharp," Hayes acknowledges. "They're very observant. But they can't be in the field." He approaches again with the same camera story. "I'm not a dangerous person. How can I help, sir?" The lenses are fogged up. Need to wipe them." "Okay, I'll just give it a spray." The guard is tense again, but not as aggressive this time. "I don't know who you are. I wasn't told." "No? Okay. Look, you guys really need to clear this area." And here it is, the moment of truth. Hayes doesn't argue, doesn't push aggressively. He asks for something small. "Look, I'll just wipe that one right there and that's it. 10 seconds. This request, seemingly so minor, changes everything. The guard hesitates. 10 seconds? What could possibly happen in 10 seconds? He has no weapon, just a tool belt. "I don't understand why they're doing this," the guard thinks. But the ingrained sense of security begins to erode under the pressure of monotony and apparent harmlessness. This time, he's much calmer. He even smiles and says, "Okay, just let me step back and I'll keep an eye on you." He steps into the room. The door is ajar, not locked, As the day wears on, Stephen and his assistant continue to harass the guards with various questions, maintaining the image of a bustling TV crew. They create a light chaos that diverts attention. And then, the crucial moment arrives. Bruce is distracted. Someone asks over the radio, "Bruce, you're the genius here. What's a garant?" The question has nothing to do with the situation, but it demands an answer, demands a shift in focus. Bruce searches for the answer. "Guys, what the—" At that moment, Stephen, right beside him, calmly sprays something on a camera lens. "Just another job. The lenses keep fogging up, it's driving us crazy. We just need to go through the rooms and spray the lenses." "Why are the lenses fogging up anyway? It's not like it's damp fog." The guards are confused, their focus scattered. And right here, at the most crucial moment, with Bruce still scrambling for an answer, Hayes, acting like someone oblivious to the danger but eager to help, smirks. "Cover your mic," he whispers, giving a signal. Bruce covers his mic. "Garant, that's a rifle," Hayes prompts. He didn't just give the answer. He helped Bruce save face in front of his colleagues. He showed himself not as an enemy, but almost like an accomplice in this little game. "So got the answer, pal. Is it a rifle?" "Exactly." The correct answer, fed to him by Hayes, gives Bruce confidence. The barrier is broken. Trust, albeit false, is established. Stephen receives unspoken permission for free movement within the operational area. Now the target is close. He spots another camera near a window, right next to one of the guards. He walks towards it. "I thought they'd clear me through their cordon and let me enter, but he was already standing there." This officer is standing right by the door leading to the target. Direct physical contact is dangerous. A ninja doesn't always kill. Their goal is the mission. And Hayes decides to neutralize the guy without physical contact. Using sheer annoyance, he feigns slight indignation. "Page," he shouts as if looking for someone from his team. "Hey, Page." The guards, already weary of his presence, are distracted. They look at each other. This guy has been here for 4 hours, bustling about, asking questions, getting in the way. The annoyance builds. "Damn, he's driving me crazy. How did he get past you? What did he tell you?" In that moment, while the guards' attention is locked on squabbling amongst themselves, Stephen Hayes takes the final step. 4 hours of painstaking deception, patience, and leveraging human psychology. 4 hours to transform himself from a potential threat into an irritating but harmless presence. And there it is, the objective achieved. Hayes neutralizes the target. Mission accomplished. "I enjoyed the assignment," he says, "and the opportunity to demonstrate how a ninja operates, without overt weapons, without aggression, using only the art of invisibility and deception. He managed to penetrate right into the heart of the secured zone." The guard's reaction, pure shock. "I can wipe the camera. He played me. I bought into that technical guy's groaning. I failed. We shouldn't have let him in. Especially since you said there would be no one here except the 2 observers." Stephen Hayes successfully completed the assignment. He proved not just that ancient ninja techniques are still viable in today's high-tech age, but that the most effective tool isn't steel or gunpowder, but the mind, patience, and the ability to become someone the enemy simply won't see. The art of invisibility lives on. We talk about the astounding physical feats of the ninja, their mastery of combat and stealth, but what about the most incredible ability attributed to them? The power to read minds, to see the invisible, to exist outside of space and time. Is that just a myth? We've already seen how ninja were ahead of their time, turning seemingly superhuman abilities into honed techniques, into an implicit weapon forged by training. Few on Earth could compete with them in the application of these unique skills. But there's one facet of their legend that still sparks heated debate. One area of knowledge difficult to fit into the bounds of ordinary reality. It's clairvoyance, the idea that ninja could see what was happening in another place, at another time, has always intrigued researchers. Was it really part of their arsenal? Did they possess this supernatural ability? And most importantly, how could such an incredible power even be tested? To find the answer, we had to delve into the most classified archives, into a place where reality intertwined with something utterly inexplicable. The CIA, during the Cold War, when the world teetered on the brink of nuclear catastrophe, American intelligence resorted to any measure in a desperate bid for an edge. And that's when, in the search for any possible information, any scrap of data about Soviet missile positions, about the enemy's plans, one of the most mysterious and expensive programs in CIA history was born. 6 years of research, approximately $50 million. A colossal sum spent not on spy satellites or agents, but on studying and developing clairvoyance. Yes, you read that right. According to declassified documents, the CIA seriously employed individuals claiming such abilities to penetrate through walls, distances, and even time. And this program, albeit transformed, reportedly continues today. One of the key players in this incredible experiment was David Morehouse, an operational clairvoyant working for military intelligence closely linked to the CIA. A man who went through the crucible of conventional combat operations, only to then plunge into a world where the boundaries of consciousness blur. We asked Morehouse, this unique expert, to apply the methods developed within the CIA's secret programs to the art of ninjutsu, to see if there's a connection. What do modern clairvoyance and ancient ninja have in common? According to Morehouse, both realized this. Beyond tangible physical capabilities, something far greater is hidden within a person. The ninja knew this. Clairvoyants do too. They know this ability exists, even if they can't explain its nature. And so, on the day our film crew was conducting an experiment with combat teams, Morehouse gathered 11 clairvoyants in a conference room 16 kilometers away from us, while Navy SEALs and our specialists simulated an attack on a target inside a building. David conducted his own quiet experiment. Their task was chillingly simple and incredibly complex: to pinpoint the target's location within that specific dwelling and provide a detailed description of the area. Morehouse showed them only a general floor plan of the building. No idea of its exterior, no photos, no clues whatsoever. This target can be moved anywhere, up, down, he explained. You have to find it. Just focus on this location. Allow yourself to enter an altered state of consciousness. Extract the information. To maximally clear the channel of perception, the clairvoyants were isolated from all external stimuli. The experiment began precisely at the moment of the attack, the calculation being that the peak emotional and physical tension of the target would create a wave that could be picked up. According to Morehouse, clairvoyants can perceive the target's biological brain activity, an electrochemical reaction that emits certain waves, thoughts, actions, movements, physiology. All of this, according to his theory, is expressed in these waves emanating from a specific location. The clairvoyant's task: to pick up, decode, and describe what they sense. 3 hours in complete silence, hours of intense concentration, attempts to peer through distance and walls, then documenting the results. And afterward, a trip to the location to see with their own eyes how close they came to the truth. "A fence? You see a fence?" Morehouse exclaimed, comparing the drawings to reality. The results were astounding. The majority of the clairvoyants, 10 out of 11, correctly indicated that the target was on the upper floors. Further analysis revealed 5 out of 11 managed to pinpoint the exact location of the target with an error margin of no more than 12 meters, and one of them was absolutely spot on. 50% accuracy in locating the position. That's already staggering, but the most intriguing data concerned the description. 100% of the clairvoyants correctly identified the target as male. More than 2/3 described his dark hair, and half the participants were able to describe facial features, even mentioning a beard and mustache. But the most incredible part was the details of the location. The clairvoyants made sketches trying to capture what their inner eyes were seeing. They drew columns, and there indeed were columns in the house. They depicted a cross-shaped grate, and such a grate was found. Some managed to pick up entirely unique details: a glass canopy on chains, an ornamental pattern on the floor, high curved ceilings, and even a long winding staircase. All of this was present in the house being investigated. This phenomenon challenges our scientific understanding of the world. Is there a rational explanation for this? Having taken part in these modern tests, comparing them with ancient ninja teachings, I see a striking similarity. Perhaps people with these abilities are simply accessing a potential that was taught in the old ninja schools, not as mysticism, but as a hidden skill. Personally, I don't believe in some mythical sixth sense as a separate organ. I don't think it exists in that form. The idea that ninja possessed certain supernatural physical abilities was often just part of a fear-inducing myth. But what if clairvoyance isn't supernatural, but just differently natural? What if it's not a myth, but an underexplored reality, accessible only to those who know how to seek it. So what is the truth about these capabilities? Is it fact or just the very latest, most incredible myth about the ninja? In the thick mists of history, where reality blends with legend, hides the truth about the warriors of the night. We've tried to unravel their secrets, subjecting their mythical abilities to modern tests, striving to separate the seeds of fact from the chaff of fiction. And do you know what we found? Despite all the mysticism that shrouds them, these invisible warriors truly were ahead of their time. We haven't managed to fully explain every deed, every trick, every sudden disappearance into the shadows. But we saw something even more astounding. They weren't just masters of stealth or assassins. Their so-called supernatural abilities didn't just fall from the sky. They were the result of an incredibly complex, almost alchemical process. Picture this: the deep mysticism of Far Eastern religions, meditation, merging with nature, understanding energy flows, blended with brutal, grueling, push-you-to-the-limit physical and mental training. And all of this was seasoned with technology astounding for its time. This wasn't just sharpened steel. These were ingenious devices for silent movement, explosives, poisons that could kill with a single touch, signaling systems allowing communication over distance, tools for breaking in, climbing, surviving in any conditions. It was a fusion of spirit, body, and intellect, elevated to an absolute. Whether you're ready to believe it or not, admit it. This was a potent cocktail. A mix that created not just soldiers, but phantoms, warriors whose most terrifying weapon wasn't in their hand, but in their head. History often glorifies muscle, direct confrontation, the knight's duel. But the greatest warriors, the ones who truly changed the course of events, weren't often the physically strongest. They were the cunningest, the most knowledgeable. They knew how to see further, think faster, use the world around them as an extension of their will. The ninja was a master of strategy, psychology, camouflage. He could neutralize an army without drawing a sword, simply by sowing panic or eliminating the leader in his own bedroom. His battlefield wasn't limited to open ground. It was walls, roofs, dark corners, even the enemy's mind. Yes, the era of the ninja as we know them has passed. They vanished into the shadows of history, leaving behind only legends and fear. But their art, their approach to warfare, not as a head-on clash, but as total infiltration, using every available means, banking on intellect and adaptability. Isn't that still relevant today? Don't their methods live on in elite special forces, in the world of espionage, even in business? The art of being unseen, the art of knowing the enemy better than yourself, the art of turning weakness into strength. This is a legacy that outlived its creators. The lessons of the warriors of the shadow who knew how to make the impossible possible still echo in our ears, if only we are willing to listen.